Good evening.
What's up, people? How you guys doing on this fine Sunday?
Ain't nobody on there yet.
No? That's all right. We're still live.
Hey, Craft, you made it. You remember Craft from VA, my girl?
Yeah, I do remember
Yeah,
Craft.
that's
Yeah,
my girl.
Thanks for joining. We appreciate you.
She's usually working, so she said she's going to catch it tonight.
Okay, that's what's up. Thanks for coming through. We appreciate it.
All right, decals. What's up? What's up, Deborah?
Good old Deborah in the house.
Deborah in
huh?
the building.
Okay, what's up, Deborah?
The Bronx is in the building. BX.
Deborah not from the Bronx.
I'm talking to Craft. Craft is
Oh,
from the
okay,
Bronx.
Craft,
We got
okay.
Tyene in the building, representing
Okay.
East New York.
What's up, China? E-N-Y.
E-N-Y,
China,
E-N-Y.
what's up? That's what's up. That's how
That's
we
it.
do
That's
it.
how we do it. Brooklyn, baby. We got Brooklyn, the Bronx, Staten Island.
Right. Living in other states now. But,
Right, exactly. All three of you.
Yeah, but it's all good.
What's up, cuz? What's up, cuz?
What's up? What's
Hey,
up?
hey, hey. I'm still Brooklyn. Nothing changed.
Oh, we know that. We know that. You take the girl out of Brooklyn. She can't take the Brooklyn out the girl.
As long as you know.
Already know that.
All day, cuz. All day. All right, you want to get started?
Yeah, we want to get started at 6:01. We're running a little late,
6:01.
right? So let's go ahead and get started with.
Shout out to my sister Tiana.
What's up,
TT?
TT?
TT in the building. All right, we're going to get started with episode 13. So today's topic is, how do you help your spouse manage stress? And I'm going to let Tobias go first today.
That's an interesting topic because there are different type of stresses in a marriage. And I think that you need to be aware when your spouse is under stress. It's hard to tell sometimes because stress is one of those things we try to keep inside and we try to deal with stress. But stress can be a bad thing that affects you physically. Before I get to the bad thing, I do want to say that there is stress that is good. And the name for this stress is called eustress. When you're in that sort of stress, you can strengthen yourself. So when you're working out, when you're trying to build muscle, you're putting yourself under eustress, which is a short amount of stress for a short amount of time, and then you're coming out that stress. Distress is the bad stress. Distress means you're stressed for long periods of time, and that can have your body produce a hormone called cortisol. And when you produce that, you can have all kinds of different physical changes, physiological changes in your body. You can gain weight. There's a lot of negativity with that. So with stress, I do want you guys to understand there is a good stress, which strengthens us. And then there is bad stress that weakens us. You want to be there for your spouse through both. So if your spouse is going through a eustress, they're going through something to make them better in a sense. You want to champion that with your spouse. You want to encourage your spouse to get through the process so they can get at the end of the tunnel and achieve the goals that they want to achieve. A lot of times eustress, you're going to achieve a goal that you didn't have. So, for instance, I'll keep it with working out. When you start to build muscle, at the end of that road with eustress, you may gain definition, which may help you look, which may show your veins in your body, right? A lot of times people like to see their veins in their body. And after that stressful period, meaning eustress, that can be something that is also acquired from being in stress. Distress, you want to be there for your spouse as well. Distress shows the negative part of being stressed out. A lot of times we say that we're stressed out for one reason or another. And if you have one of those spouses that try to keep things in, but you know your spouse is in stress, you want to bring them out of their shell to discuss the stress, because it's like releasing a valve, right? When you loosen stress out of the body, or when you release stress out of the body, it can deflate you, as where you can just take a breath and exhale and relax. And it's good to talk about your stresses with your spouse. So if you're helping your spouse get through some stress that they're under, and you see that they're stressed, you may want to say something to them like, hey, I noticed this, or I noticed you're doing that. Is everything okay? And sometimes your spouse may still try to hide it and say, yeah, everything is fine. It's just, no, this just doesn't look right. Now, sometimes people need space, and sometimes people work things out internally, and that works for them. So I would say try to start a conversation with them about their stress, and understand what's going on from their point of view. If they want to talk, try to bring it out of them. Don't badger them. If they don't want to talk at this certain point in time, it may be for a reason.
Right.
Leave them alone. Let them work through it. Come back the next day. I see something is still bothering you. Do you want to talk about it? How can I help you? A lot of times, the phrase, how can I help you, can be better or more effective than, do you want to talk about it? Especially with men, because men are not usually trained to talk about their stresses and what's bothering them.
That's true.
Women do that better than men do, on average.
Right, some women.
So sometimes you just gotta phrase it differently and come at your spouse and try to talk about a situation. I think that's a good point of attack with stress. Again, you don't want to attack the person or badger the person. You just want to attack the problem. And remember, men, when you're helping them with stress, don't talk to them just to rant about the problem. A man wants to solve a problem. They don't want to talk about it just to talk about it.
Right.
So when you come to them and you know what the stress is, if you can, try to have or help with the solution. So something like this here. So I see something is going on with you. Do you want to talk about it? The man may say no. The next day you come, I see this is still bothering you. So what's going on? You could come something like that. And then your spouse can tell you what's happening, and then you could come with, well, I didn't know that was going on, but here is something that I see that may help you out with this particular problem that's stressing you out. Anyway, I took a long time with that one. I think this is a very good topic.
It is.
I could go on and on about it, but I want to give my gorgeous wife some time to speak about it.
You.
So go ahead, take it over. I don't want to take over the show.
No, but you said a lot of really, really good points, and I see the audience, everybody's putting comments in the comment section. So let me just add to that. I would say what will be most important when you do observe your partner being stressed is, one, listen. And when you listen, actively listen.
Good.
A lot of times we think we're listening, but we're so preoccupied by children, social media, the telephone ringing, cooking. I think a lot of times we have to really shut everything down to say, Bull, what's really going on? Like, you're not looking good. You're not looking like yourself. You're moving differently. And I think we also have to be, and it's something that you really touched on, very careful about attacking. Because a lot of times when people are stressed, right, they, like you mentioned, they hold things in, and a lot of times they move differently. So we don't know exactly what's going on, but we can pinpoint you're not your usual self. So I think a lot of times is sit back, do your observations, ask the questions like Tobias mentioned, and then sit back, like you also mentioned, and be solution-based. I think it's very important that you acknowledge the other person's emotions, right? We all have feelings regardless of gender. And I think a lot of times I've had supervised so many men in my 22 years. And a lot of times men have confided in me. And the number one thing they say is, my wife don't listen. Or this one is not listening. Really, men, I would say, when it comes to their feelings, they're just as sensitive as we are. They may not show it because that's that masculine side, but they are looking for someone to just listen to them, to hear them out. A lot of times, even though we are solution based, because the way I carry myself, certain women, I think majority of the women, we want to solve the problems, right? Because we are the helpmate. So we're looking to solve the problems. But a lot of times we put things into our own perspective if it was us. It's not us dealing with the stress in the situation. So you want to always look at it from that person's perspective. And sometimes you may not have a solution that day, the next day, and therefore maybe you have to do some research. Maybe you have to brainstorm together to see, exactly how you can solve the issue. I think a lot of times, and this is a very, very good topic, because people who I speak to, who you speak to, that we interact with, people are really stressed these days, right? You see, we have several friends that have their own mental health practices, and they have no problem with their clients. They have a plethora of clients, right? It's nonstop, right? People are really going through things, and I think a lot of times what we need to do too is be very honest. If we feel that the person, and it's starting to affect, like me, I'm a stress eater, or you see it in my skin. If you see that if you don't have a solution and it continues to carry on, it's time for some professional help. I know a lot of times in the Black and brown community, we feel we don't need help. I grew up in the church. We are Christians. At the end of the day, sometimes you need someone out the church that's a professional to really give you some advice, right? And that's not biased, that don't really know you, but dealing with the diagnose what's going on with the situation. So I would definitely recommend, if you can't get through it and your spouse and you continue to see them stressed out, because that's going to definitely affect their performance. And when I say performance at work, their business, their creativity, how they deal with you intimate wise, everything around the house. So you don't want your spouse stressed. You really, really want to try to, as much as possible. And I would say too, I don't know your spouse's love language, but sometimes you may just need a rub on the shoulder. You just may need a hug, right? You just may need to be near, watch movies, do certain things together. Sometimes, I know when I'm stressed out, when I recently was stressed out, sometimes just a surprise gift, and it doesn't have to be something big, just to say, oh, I got you flowers today, something just to brighten up your day, but some type of, like, yes, TT, what you mentioned, reassurance that sometimes, you can't always solve the issue. You may not resolve that problem, but you know what? Something that you just recently told me about 2 or 3 months ago, we got each other. So it doesn't matter what happened, right. To know someone that has your back, right, that's able to give you advice that has your best interest at heart. At the end of the day, sometimes that's all a person needs. You know your spouse better than anyone else. You know what they like, what they dislike, but a lot of times we live in society where we can't trust too many people, because like I mentioned a couple of times, your friend got a friend, your friend got a sister, your friend got a brother, your friend got a husband, and everybody pillow talk, right? So a lot of times you're not comfortable with sharing that information to people outside of your household, even though they mean well, but people have big mouths, and sometimes you don't want certain things shared. So just to know, you know what, I can count on my partner, my person, my support system, right? To know I'm going to get through this, because we all go through challenges and different things in life, right? And it's going to be a time when you are stressed, right? And a lot of times you just need someone to say, boo, I need help, or boo, this is really bothering me, and I think a lot of times too, if you are the one that is stressed, speak up. People are dropping dead from heart attacks, strokes, aneurysms. It really affects your blood pressure, your body, period. Like you said, your whole physical health. So you want to make sure, speak to someone, okay? And let's hear from the audience, because we both have been talking. So I see a lot of comments in the comment section. If you could just really, really put down really quickly, what are some things that you do when you see that your spouse is stressed out? Just give me, it can be one comment, one sentence, but I'm going to go through some of them, and I think some of you already have put, love language is a real thing, right? Because people want support differently. Sometimes when you're stressed out, you don't want nobody touching you. Sometimes, like Tobias said, you need a little break where you need time for yourself. George said, talk to them calmly. TT says, speak up, talk to them. The support system is the healer no matter what you're going through. Very good, because knowing your person's love language, the importance of being in a relationship. Oh, this is good stuff. Yes. Mm-hmm. Not being afraid to seek help. It hurts. And it does hurt. Like I made mention of, we're all going to, and you have to be careful with introverts. Yes, you do. You really do. But what I find, because I've had several introverts that I'm very close to, once they really trust you, they're going to confide in you. They just have to have that trust to know, again, that this person really has my best interest. And then sometimes people really need that time just to isolate. But if that isolation period is too long, we have to say something as their spouse, because we don't want, it to lead to something else.
Correct. I think the big picture here is, when your spouse is stressed, they need to know someone has their back unconditionally.
That's it.
And you need that, what we're saying, support system. Mm-hmm. Is just having someone's back.
Right.
And once you are in a period of being stressed, at least there is someone in your corner that's rooting for you, that wants you to win. Mm-hmm. So that's something that's very important as far as dealing with this situation.
I brought my water today. I'm sorry.
I see.
All right, let's see some of the comments. Yes, the introvert has almost got me divorced before. That's Tiana, as you know. Just going to mute on me. I'm screaming. Okay, I do more when I see stress. Yeah, you got to be there for your partner. It's a reason why you both chose each other, right? To be each other's significant other. So that person is dependent on you. Sometimes, you'd be surprised how many people feel lonely living in this world, that they have no one to talk to, no one that they really can confide in and trust. So you really want to, again, give that person your undivided attention. Sometimes you need to shut those devices off. Be quiet. You know what I'm saying? Give them all of you. Mm-hmm. Anything else you want to add to that?
I think that covers it all, or a lot of it, because again, you could go on for hours and hours with supporting a stressed out spouse. But I think we hit on a lot of good points.
Especially the solution. I like the solution part, because people are looking for solutions. And even if, and don't get offended if they don't use your solution. Because sometimes, and we've been through that before, because you'll say, it all the time, I'll come back a month later with the same solution. And you're like, I told you that a month ago. A lot of times they just may not use it at that time, but it doesn't mean that they're not listening to you. So don't be sensitive and take offense if somebody is really, if your spouse is going through something and you gave a suggestion and they didn't go that route right away. Okay? That's important too. I think a lot of times, we do more harm than good when we try to help. So just be patient. That's what it is too. When a person is going through stress, you have to be patient with them. And patience is really a virtue. And I know a lot of times some of us may struggle with that, because we're, ripping and running, and we're trying to get so many things done. And, this person's still stressed out, they should get over it. No, people deal with things differently. Okay?
All right. That's a good point, I think.
All right.
I think that's good. Right there.
I'm going to get into the marriage mailbox.
All right.
We had
what we got now?
2 interesting questions.
Okay.
And did you go first already? So I gotta go first now. Oh, okay. Okay. Some of you really close to me gonna be cracking up. Question number 1 from the marriage mailbox. Is it okay for your spouse to have access to your phone? I need to let me drink my water first, because I'm gonna go in. Okay.
I want to shout out my brother G.
George.
Man.
All right.
Yeah.
Let me repeat the question really quickly in case you didn't hear me. Is it okay for your spouse to have access to your phone? Yes, it is okay for your spouse to have access to your phone. Number 1, what are you hiding, right? And I'm not saying, you deal with your spouse the way you want to deal with your spouse. But today, a reason for marriage, I'm going to be very straightforward and give you my opinion and what has worked for me. We've been married 18 and a half years. I would say it worked for me 17 because my first year I was a little crazy, okay? So it works. First of all, when you don't have nothing to hide, it shouldn't be any issue about your spouse having access to your phone. To me, it gives a sense of security, kind of, for me, because you're not hiding anything. We first got together, you didn't care about anything to do with that. First of all, you didn't even care about no one having your number or anything like that. So my thing was, why can't you have your spouse's phone? Are you communicating with someone that you have no business communicating with? Are you looking up things that you should not be looking up? I mean, let's really talk about it. And I do want to hear from the audience because I thought this was a very good question. And I'm sure, Tobias has his own opinion, but I know a lot of things we agree on. And this is one thing that has come up within our marriage. Tobias has never, ever given me any reason to go through his phone. From past relationships, past traumas, right? And some of my insecurities very early in my 20s, I did used to go to his phone, right? Yeah, because I'm going to check, right? And I kind of felt stupid afterwards because I never could find anything, right? But that's things that, the way we all deal with our spouse. But anything can happen to your spouse. Like, I don't understand why that is something that you feel that you need to hide from your spouse. Now, I'm not saying be a stalker and, calling numbers and doing all of that, but I always say this and I really mean what I say. You know your spouse better than anyone else, especially if you've been with them for some time, if you've known them from some time. So you know what they're capable of and what they're not. Even though people say, oh, they're so sneaky, I didn't know that. You knew that lady was around the corner that he was dealing with all those years, right? Because it's something that he did that was differently. Like, when something is off, especially as women, we can feel it, right? So my thing is, what is the issue? If there is no issue there, I have no problem with Tobias ever looking through my phone. I have no problem with whatever numbers are in my phone because I have nothing to hide. But I thought it was a very interesting question. And that's just really my feedback. And I'll probably add to it after you say something.
It's an excellent question.
But I don't really see, for me as a woman, I feel very confident that I don't have to worry about my husband hiding his phone from me. You understand what I'm saying? Or I can't touch it. Or there's a passcode. Or I don't know how to get into his phone. Or, to me that's just foolishness. Go ahead.
I don't see what you're hiding when you're not giving access to your spouse with your phone. This is not a girlfriend, or this is not someone who is a Jane that you meet out there and that you deal with. I'm talking about your spouse here. Your spouse should have access to your device. One, because something can happen to you.
That's true.
And if something happens to you, your spouse will need to get in your device to handle business for you. Sure.
Good point.
If you're not conscious, if something happens to you, you have a health scare or a health issue, and you go unconscious, what is your spouse supposed to do? God forbid if you die. Okay, none of us are guaranteed tomorrow.
Right.
That may be tough for you to understand, but we're not guaranteed tomorrow. There's information in your device that your spouse is going to need to arrange things and get things together for you. It's not just about getting in someone's business to catch them cheating or doing something wrong, going on a website they shouldn't be on, dealing with people on social media they shouldn't be dealing with. It's much deeper than that. I look at that as you hiding your bank account information from your spouse. There's no reason to do that. There's a trust issue. Lines may need to be drawn on what's accepted and what's not accepted, but I think ultimately you should have access to your spouse's phone or device or anything like that, because things do happen in life. And when times are critical, that phone may be something to save your life, or may be something that helps both of you out in one way or another. Now, what I do want you guys to understand is, if you feel you need to go through your spouse's phone all the time and they don't give you a reason to, but you just do it anyway, I think you'll find something and misconstrue that for the negative that you're looking for. There's an adage that goes, if you're looking for something, you're eventually going to find it. And I think that's with anything. But that doesn't mean what you find. That doesn't mean what you find is what you think it is.
True,
okay?
True.
Let me give you guys an example. If you go through your spouse's phone and you're trying to see if they're cheating on you or not, there's a lot of games being played as where younger kids and some older people too, they just text any number from anywhere and they just see if they can start a conversation with people. It's kind of weird, but this is being done. So if my wife looks at my phone and someone does that to me, then I'm going to tell her, I don't know who it is.
They better not be texting my husband.
But what if she looks at it like, no, do you know this person? And if I'm telling you I don't know them, there's nothing more I can do. So what I'm saying is, in a situation like that, if you're looking for something, you will find something. Another thing is, and I'm going to give you a personal experience of mine. I have a number that is similar to...
You ain't got to tell them about your number.
Yeah, I have a number.
Don't call my husband.
That's similar to a State Department. And this number gets quite a bit of calls for information. I get a lot of wrong numbers, or people call me by accident. And there's a lot of times I look at a number and I won't answer my phone because I don't know this number. Tony had to get used to that, as me not answering my phone. She used to ask, well, who's that? Why are you not answering the phone? And I should tell her, I don't know them. That's why I'm not answering.
I just trace all the calls.
So the thing is that when you're looking for something, at times you will find it, but it may not be what you think it is. Okay, so be careful with that. But I think your spouse should have access to your device. No question about that.
So TT said the bank account is a whole nother situation. Yes, I'm very observant too. So I used to look, I'm not going to lie, my first probably 2 years of marriage, I was in that phone nonstop. Because again, a lot of times from past relationships or past traumas, we just nosy and observant and we want to look, right? I'm a strong believer of sometimes we can make up some stuff in our head because we just think everybody is downright dirty and everybody's not. But at the end of the day, we both can agree you shouldn't be hiding your phone from your spouse. The spouse should have access. And that's just our opinion coming from the reasons, right? And I'm like you, cuz pick up phone, answer phone, talk on phone, text on phone. Yes. His phone is my phone. Our phones are together. Okay. Question number 2. You want to go first?
Yeah, sure. I'll go first. What's the question?
Oh my gosh. I forgot about this one. How do we deal with insecurities and jealousy in a healthy way?
Well, insecurities and jealousy is kind of like what we were just talking about with access to your spouse's device. I think when you notice there's an insecurity or jealousy or what have you, I think it's good to speak with your spouse about what the real issue and underlying problem is. I think when you sense this or when you see this, you need to nip it in the bud immediately. Because if you let it ride, if conversation isn't going on about what the insecurity or the jealousy is about, it's just going to grow. And it grows into a monster, is where it's very hard to tame that jealousy and insecurity. What you should do is when you notice it, you talk about it. When you see your spouse is jealous, okay, why are you jealous?
Right.
All right. So is it what Tony just talked about, those past traumas that's coming back to haunt you? Your spouse should not be paying the price for what someone has done to them in the past. So if you've got something done to you in the past, you should not be bringing that onto your spouse.
That is true.
Okay. So the question I would like to ask is, well, what makes you jealous? Why are you jealous? It comes out after a while. Okay, so your spouse tells you why they're jealous. I think the next question is, okay, did I do that? Did I tell you that? Have I ever done that to you before in the past? I think you need to have someone think about what they're actually doing, because the jealousy and the insecurity can be just a reaction. There's not much thought into what they're doing, especially if you're like a guy like myself. I don't give my wife a reason to be jealous or insecure. So if I'm asking her these questions that I just told you about, one of them was, have I ever done that to you before? Her answer has to be no. So why are you worried about it? You see, insecurity and jealousy takes a lot of energy.
It does.
It's like being mad with someone. It takes a ton of energy for you to be upset and be mad. And insecurity and jealousy does the same thing. So you waste a lot of energy and time looking through your spouse's phone because you're looking for something. You could be doing something constructive. If your spouse doesn't give you the reason to be jealous or insecure, then you shouldn't be. You may need to seek help and therapy.
I would agree.
To get rid of that or to solve that issue that you have going on. Because again, it's not fair for you to bring your past relationship baggage into your marriage. Okay? Your spouse does not deserve that. You are disrespecting your spouse, and you are mentally abusing your spouse by bringing up the issues that you have from old times. So that's a lot, but I'm gonna cut it right there.
Well, you gave a lot of information. I see what you put, cousin. That I want to agree with you, and I agree with a lot of things that you mentioned, Tobias, about a lot of times it has nothing to do with the spouse. It's their own insecurities and things that they've went through in the past traumas. But let me just speak on it. If you're the person, because sometime throughout your life, most people have some type of insecurity, right? Some people, I'm going to speak for myself, being Black and Hispanic, growing up in a very rough neighborhood, right?
We're just being Black and Hispanic.
Because we're born jealous. That's the way we are. We don't play.
I don't think we're born jealous.
Yeah, we are.
No.
So I'm talking about me, myself, right? And a lot of people that I know, because of disrespect, a lot of times, because a lot of stuff that we've learned throughout our marriage, right? Because a lot of times things may come off as being jealous. It's not being jealous. Sometimes other people of the same gender are just disrespectful and need to be checked. So you may come off as being jealous, but really you're kind of territorial because you feel this is my husband or my spouse, and you're not going to be in their face. But that being said, so I want to agree with what you had mentioned. It's not fair to your spouse, but I also want to say, I like when you mentioned about talk to your spouse. But if you are the individual that's dealing with the insecurities and the jealousy, I would agree with seeking help. But try to build up your confidence in that area that you feel that you're weak in, right? Because a lot of times, it can be physical appearance. It could be maybe you're just really new in a relationship and they may have been with their other partner for 10 or 15 years and the family may have a relationship with them. It's so many things that can trigger an insecurity or to be jealous, right? And I'm just going to be, I know I'm very straightforward. So try to figure out what's really causing this insecurity. And then what I have done in the past, any areas that I felt that I was insecure or if it was pointed out, identified, I tried to make changes. If I didn't like the way I looked, if I didn't like the way, like I was 32 when I got braces, right? I didn't like the way I'm going to fix whatever. And that can be superficial to some people, but
that's a good example.
But I'm giving an example.
Yeah.
If you don't like it, make it your business. Make the money. If you got to work 2 jobs, open a business, a boutique, whatever you need to do to make changes to better yourself. Or to get therapy, because therapy costs. A lot of times medical coverage don't cover that, right? Whatever it may be, so you can deal with those insecurities. But a lot of times, I find it, and I'm glad that my husband now understands, a lot of times those insecurities and past traumas can be triggered because, again, somebody's in your spouse's face and you really don't want to go to jail or do anything inappropriate. So sometimes, you take it out in different ways. So I'm not saying that's the best way to deal with things, but a lot of times we may come off, if you have a certain personality, because really you're just checking someone to say, hey, you don't know my husband, please don't give him a hug because I don't want to body slam you. Or, hey, please don't, you know what I'm saying? It's certain things that, sometimes you got to be checked on, right? So sometimes it's not an insecurity. Sometimes it's just stay out my man's face or vice versa. Okay? That being said, and I see everybody's laughing, but I'm just, most of you, insecurities and past traumas are just, yes, they can destroy a marriage. Yes, they really can destroy a marriage. But I think once you realize it, once your spouse tells you, they feel that you're being insecure and things like that, you just have to get help to try to really, work on changing it. And I think some things you'll outgrow as you get more secure in your relationship, or when you trust more, whatever it may be. I'm not going to sit here and hold you up. In my 20s, I was off the hook jealous, and probably 30% of you know. Don't be in my man's face. I don't care if we're in the mall or in the church. Like, don't touch him, because sometimes people will try you because I look like the soft light skin. I'm really not. So that being said,
the soft light skin.
They think you soft sometimes because you light skin.
Okay.
Yeah. So she'll body slam you over here, man. Yeah. So that I think today was really good. We're over our time today.
Yeah, we're way over. We're way over.
Okay.
But thank you guys for sticking around.
I hope you enjoyed our episode today. So just to close out, the 31st, next Saturday, we'll be live in DC for our first panel.
Yeah.
Our relationship panel with
we'll
Winter Harris from Love and Marriage of DC. We'll be there live and in the flesh. Hope to see some of you. I know some of you have already purchased your tickets, and we look forward to seeing some of you again and meeting some of you in person. We appreciate the support.
Yeah.
And I hope you guys will join us next week for episode 14.
Absolutely.
All right. Have a good one. Enjoy your Sunday. Cook some